All right, we are here this morning with Gracie and Ian Davis from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
And Eleanor.
and Eleanor.
Eleanor.
Eleanor, the canoe, Eleanor. They have been traveling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and so I'm going to let you explain what your trip is all about.
Absolutely. Well, we're paddling, and we've been paddling since the 1st of June, so we're almost in our 100th day. We might even be on our 100th day of paddling.
Wow.
And the purpose for the trip, sit please. The purpose for the trip, there's really three purposes. The first is it's a crazy adventure that kind of every guy wants to do once in his life, or more. But the second one is I'm raising money for my nonprofit company called Called to Communicate. And I coach middle and high school kids, public speaking, debating, critical thinking. But I do that outside the school system, so I don't get compensated by the school system. I get compensated by individual parents if they can pay. And so to supplement that, this is a nonprofit effort on my part. And people that are interested can go to my Facebook page, The Point to Cairo, and look up the link there. It should be pretty prominent as to how to contribute if you'd like to do that. The mission of my organization is that we exist in order to equip children that they can sing the songs in their hearts, and then after that they can change the world. The third reason for the trip has a lot to do with Eleanor, the canoe. And if you know the song Riding with Private Malone, it's a country song, talks about a 1966 Chevy stored in a barn for decades until a young man came along and threw the tarp back, found out that it was a 1966 cherry red Corvette. And as he was driving off, he looked in the glove box and, Gracie, go down please, go down, there you go, down, thank you. He looked in the glove box, and there he found a note that said, "My name is Private Malone, and if you're reading this, I didn't make it. And this car used to be my dream, and now it's your dream, so I hope you'll always remember that you're riding with Private Malone." Well, the same thing is true for the canoe. Eleanor was built in 1962 in Old Town, Maine, and she was purchased in '63 by a young man named David Burt. And David and his best buddy Chuck Shoup paddled Eleanor for 2 years, '64 and '65, until in the spring of '66 they were both in a car together and sideswiped by a semi and killed before they graduated from high school. And so that was the end of David Burt's great life adventure. Well, his parents and his brothers and sisters, put Eleanor in a barn, just like the car, and covered it in a tarp, just like the car, for 45 years, until I came along in 2011. And I went into the barn and I threw back the tarp, and there was my 1966 mint-condition cherry red Corvette, only it was a 1962 Old Town canoe. And when Susie Fitzgerald, the late David Burt's older sister, told me the story of David and what an adventurous kid he was and what a great young man he was, it was like me reaching into that glove box and pulling out the note that says, "My name is David Burt, and this canoe was my dream, but I didn't make it, and so I need you to always be riding with David Burt." And so I tell you all of that because the third big reason for this trip is that I'm kind of finishing David Burt's big life adventure for him because he didn't make it.
Very awesome. And you started. Oh,
sorry.
You started on June the 1st. That's correct. It's whenever you left Pittsburgh.
Started June the 1st.
June 1st. So tell me, how big is the canoe?
The canoe is 15 feet long. It's relatively small by most standards, but it's all I need for all my gear and me and Gracie. It's made of wood on the inside and canvas on the outside.
Wow.
And it is surprisingly sturdy. People don't think of a wood canvas canoe as being very sturdy, but they're very, very sturdy. I don't have any damage on the bottom of this canoe to speak of. That it's been watertight for the entire trip. It's been fabulous. She's been great. We're 950 miles now.
So I have met a lot of people who've made trips down the Ohio River, but I don't know that I've ever met anybody who's had a pet with them traveling. So what kind of challenge has that been, having Gracie along?
Well, Gracie's a pretty special dog. She's very smart. She's just a puppy. She's 10.5 months old.
And what kind of dog is she?
She's a Brittany. Some people call her a Brittany Spaniel. She's a bird hunting dog by breeding. And challenges have been, she loves to run. And although she is pretty well trained and very obedient, when she wants to run, she wants to run. Fortunately, she's become very good at coming back. Other challenges, her dog food got wet once, full of water, and then got spoiled, and I had to replace it. Not a big deal, but it happens. Early in the trip, when I didn't appreciate that she could go an enormous distance very fast and come back on my call, and even naturally want to come back to where the tent was. She was gone for a couple of hours, and I panicked, and I put the word out to all my Facebook friends, start your praying, gang, because I can't find Gracie. It's been a couple of hours now. And lo and behold, I looked around and around, and I finally came back to the tent, and there was Gracie running at me full tilt from the tent where she was hanging out. So I learned that she has a pretty amazing sense of direction since then.
Wow. How much stuff, do you carry on the, can you hold or what?
Well, I probably started out with 400 pounds worth of gear, maybe 350 pounds worth of gear, and over the course of the trip, obviously, I've consumed a lot of food, but I had occasion to go back to Pittsburgh in the middle of the trip, and I left a bit of gear back there. So I have everything I need. I have my lodging, I have my food, I have my solar power generation, I have my water filtration system, I have obviously my propulsion, and I have my clothing, I have my toiletries, everything I need to clean myself. So I've got everything I need. I could stay on the river for probably another 2 months if I wanted to.
Wow. So how do you get your clothes cleaned? You just like wherever you stop to pitch a tent?
Sometimes I'll find a laundromat. People have been incredibly generous on the river. I've had folks that have put me up overnight, that have washed my clothes, cooked me meals. It's just been amazing. I do have what I need to do, what I need here to wash my clothes in the river if I need to, which I've done before. So I've got all of that looked after.
And what about, do you have a full-time job, or how did you arrange to have this much time away from work?
Well, the coaching of the kids, which I do with Called to Communicate, is naturally during the school year, but since I engage with parents and not directly with the school, I don't necessarily need to be back right when school starts.
Okay.
Sit.
So that allowed you the time to go ahead and make the trip then.
That's right.
And
yeah,
is this
summertime's the time, but I do need to be getting back.
Is this the first time that you've made a big trip like this, or have you had other adventures?
Nothing as big as this. This is actually 5 times bigger than my next longest paddle, which was a little over 200 miles down the Allegheny River. So I've paddled the Allegheny, which is the largest tributary to the Ohio.
Okay.
And I've traveled the Ohio, which I think is the largest tributary to the Mississippi. So maybe the Mississippi will be next, and I'll do the longest single continuous waterway in the United States.
Wow.
Which will be, I think, close to 3,500 miles, 3,000 miles. That might be fun.
So does Gracie stay there where she's at now, or does she sit on top of the canoe?
She sits on top of the canoe on cooler days, or after she's been swimming and she's drying out, she sits up there for snoozing and staying out of the sun. She goes underneath. So Gracie has her own webpage, in addition to all of our webpage called Point to Cairo. Gracie has her own webpage called Adventures with Gracie.
Adventures with Gracie,
And we just started that recently to chronicle all of her coming adventures in life, because she's only a pup, so she should have lots more.
Awesome. And so being this close to Cairo, how are you feeling?
Feeling enthusiastic, anxious. Sit, please. And obviously, Gracie's enthusiastic and anxious, too. Sit, please, sweetie. Looking forward to getting done in one sense, but it's very bittersweet. I was just passing through lock number 52, reminiscing last night that this was the last time I was going to hear the creak of the huge doors as they opened for me, and I was all alone in the chamber. because 53 the dam is down, and so I'm just going to paddle right over. So everything's bittersweet now, just in these latter few miles.
And when you get to Cairo, are you paddling back, or how are you getting back?
No, I've got my car is down in Portageville, Missouri is where my car is. At a good friend and my old boss. He's down there and looking after my car. I drove it down earlier in the trip.
I got you. Okay, all right. Anything else that you could think of that we've missed here that you would like to add?
Well, let me give my 2 cents worth about my advice about the lives we live. We live pretty sedentary lives these days, and I would encourage anybody out there that's got a dream. It doesn't need to be a dream to paddle 1,000 miles, but if it's big, you know, heck with it, go for it. Life's too short to wonder what you might have done, and we're thrilled that we said the heck with it 3.5 months ago and decided to do this.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your time, and wish you luck on your travels on to Cairo.
Thank you very much.
And next time you're in Metropolis, stop by and see us.
I will. Take care.